Welcome to Beer Stories for Private Equity. Join us for our weekly happy hour, tapping into 27 years of PE experience, one pint at a time. Beer Stories for Private Equity is powered by Monogram Group.
On today's show, we're excited to be joined by Stephen Kelly, co-managing partner of Ivy Capital Partners in Dublin.
And for Monogram Group, here's your host, Scott Markman.
Please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to another episode of Beer Stories for Private Equity. This is Scott Markman, your host, and joining us today is a special treat from across the pond, Stephen Kelly from Ivy Capital in Dublin, Ireland. Stephen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Scott. Delighted to be here. Shall we start with perhaps what I'm drinking?
We can do that. I don't want to get off script here, so you go first and then I'll go second.
Well, Scott, I have to say it has to be Guinness, doesn't it? Now, you're not going to like what type of Guinness I'm doing. I'm doing a Guinness Zero. Because of my personal wisdom, I decided to go off the alcohol, but mainly because I'm driving later on, Scott. Otherwise, it would be a real Guinness. So when you're over in Dublin, I promise you we'll go for a real pint of black stuff.
My beer to rep the hometown is Dovetail Pilsner. Dovetail is one of 4 or 5 microbrews on Ravenswood Avenue where our offices are located, and we're a big fan of Dovetail. And so let's, on your mark, get set, go. We're going to open these puppies up, right?
Absolutely.
On your mark, get set, go. The best sound in town. There you go. Thank you very much.
Sir.
It's super early here in Chicago, not so much in Dublin, but we march on. So give us some of your background, Stephen. Born, raised, all that stuff leading up to career.
Yeah, no, I was raised in Dublin. I went to Trinity College and did business economics there, and then decided quick as a flash not to jump in like all my contemporaries into the kind of consulting investment banking world, and I headed off to Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. I just went traveling for the first 2 years.
Whoa. Time out. What year was this?
98 to 2000.
Oh, so, okay, something else we have in common, and for our listeners, neither one of us knew this. I did the exact same fucking thing. Wow. In 1980, 87, 88, I spent a year in Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia.
Wow. I did 48,000 kilometers around Australia in a car called Sheila, which was a 1983 Mazda 9.
And we know in Australia what Sheila means, right?
And also bought the car for $1,500 and sold it for $2,300 after doing 48,000 kilometers.
Profit motive was an early thing of yours. So you graduate from Trinity College and you find your way into the world of financial advisory eventually. So
eventually via IBM, which was an amazing start for me. Then we went into the family business, which was logistics, just-in-time logistics, looking after some of the biggest corporations on the planet, and in effect putting them on your back and making sure production lines don't stop, which is a major issue, expedited freight or whatever you want to call it. And that was amazing, Scott, because what it did, it showed how important it is to care for your clients and deliver more than you can promise at all times. Because if you're facing literally mission critical line stops, you need to be trusted at a level that perhaps possibly your normal large integrators wouldn't be able to do. After that, then left the family side of the business and did a couple of things, went into a startup in the aviation space. Over 50% of all registered aircraft are registered through Dublin entities. And then after that, then with my great friend who I've known since I was a child, we decided eventually to join forces. We started the Ivy adventure in 2006, but only got around to finally joining forces just as the pandemic was wrapping up, thank God, towards the end of 21, and kind of put pen to paper on how we were going to run this business in the Ivy restaurant in Dublin, hence the reason why it's called Ivy Capital Partners. But originally in 2006, in the Ivy restaurant in Robertson Avenue in Beverly Hills, we came up with our original idea, and we always had to call the company Ivy. I mean, it was just always going to have to happen like that. What happened then, Scott, and this is how we got into where we're going, is our deep love for looking after US clients. We've been doing it all our career. On David's side of the house, he's been in corporate finance, banking, and he's been running the FDI show inbound for these large corporations from the States inbound. So it was always a natural thing. But from a personal point of view, Scott, I became a father at the start of the pandemic, at kind of a later stage of my life than you did. It's something when you become a father, it's no longer just about you. It's about your next generation and how to leave it in a better place than when, and you've got a legacy to deliver on, and that's your young children.
I want to ask a question, something you brought up, which is that you sort of were brought up by an entrepreneurial family.
Yeah.
And, so when you were born, did your family have this business?
No, well, Dad had just started it with his two brothers, but honestly, genuinely, Scott, from nothing. My grandfather brought traditional Irish music from the west of Ireland into Dublin in the 1930s. So every single time you're in Ireland and you're listening to a fiddle playing in a pub, there's some influence with my grandfather on that point. So, yeah, we were always a musical family, but never business was really from my father's.
I'm the same thing. My parents started a small family business and owned it for 30 years and sold it, retired the same year I started Monogram. And that's all I ever knew. And so the inevitability and the desire to sort of do my own thing was kind of probably hardwired into me from the time I was 2 years old.
I think you need to be a different kind of animal to run your own shop because, in effect, you're only ever as good as your last job or only ever as good as your last month. And there's kind of a pressure on you, especially when you're growing a young family. The kind of urge to maybe just go into corporate land and take the monthly salary is definitely always there. But it was never with me. And I don't think it's with my business partner as well. We just want to grow something. Like our clients that we represent, Scott, are, they're always kind of grow into something. It's mainly in the venture space, but we do have clients perhaps possibly in the private equity side of the house. So these are clients maybe at seed level, maybe Series A level, that want to grow into being a large entity with 100, 200 million ARRs from their current level of maybe two, So it's very much a wonderful feeling to be part of that journey, to go on that journey with them. And that's kind of where we really get our passion.
So is the origin story, and I'll call it the service offerings, the value proposition of Ivy Capital, rooted in this transatlantic dynamic between American companies of a variety of profiles and models that want to come into Europe, UK, Ireland, and you're the enabler and the capital sourcer. Is that really the foundation of Ivy Capital?
I've been to America so many times. It's my second home, always has been. But yeah, absolutely to that point. We are based in Dublin, and Dublin has carved out an incredible success story over the last 50 years, in Ireland in general, of housing the greatest companies on the planet and being in their international or European HQ. It's just a well-trodden path that we have run, and we're just trying to maybe perhaps attract in the next generation of the big guys, get them in the door and land and expand them, but grow with them, Scott. We're almost 3 years in business now, and we started literally from a restaurant at the tail end of 2021. And what we feel like what we're doing is every month we're growing with the client. It's tough out there to get to raise capital in this marketplace, especially post 2021. And it's just it's fascinating to work with these amazing companies.
Situationally, you somehow are introduced to somebody from the US who's looking to A, come to Dublin or Europe, and B, source capital. So walk our listeners through a couple of key milestones in that process and how you match capital to, folks looking for capital. What's that look like, and how long does it take, and what leads to success, and what comes next?
So primarily our clients would take us on initially on a short-term basis, maybe 3 to 6 months, to get some kind of immediate delivery, be it maybe a bridge round of financing. But very quickly, what we find is that the real value add is being a representation, i.e., their international HQ, and allowing them to, in effect, grow into what they're looking to grow into. And in this case, it's usually some kind of capital raise. What we then do is we try and kind of offer a quarterback service where we would leverage off our relationships built up over the last 60 years of doing business to, in effect, match the opportunity of what our client is delivering in form of investment with the investor's appetite. And I think our secret sauce here is allowing that matching to take place in a way that guarantees maximum level of success. Because it's very difficult to get those checks. I mean, it's been really, really hard in some ways to make fundraising happen. And that's really just simply enough in the way of funding to allow for a couple more months of runway to be delivered to unlock a contract with the government that might take place in quarter 3. So they just need that small little, couple of months worth of capital to make that happen. So that's kind of how we do it. It's not a scientific model, Scott. It's more the ability to match the investor and match the opportunity. And in some ways, leverage off our contacts and relationships that we build up.
Talk about your competitive context. How many folks do exactly what you do or close to what you do? And how do you kind of differentiate yourself? What makes you folks different and better at what you do?
First and foremost, it's about the value prop of saying, hey, listen, guys, do you want to explore the opportunities to land and expand in the European marketplace? And do you want to do it at a cost-effective rate rather than spending many, many hundreds of thousands by using one maybe of the big firm and getting a nice big proposal, a document deck at the end of it to see how it goes? We actually put the boots straight on the ground. And what we want to do is really get a beachhead client to allow them in Ireland and get that in the hands to allow them for the international expansion to take place. So it's the practical rather than the theoretical. It's actually delivering something on the ground. But also, Scott, I suppose another thing is we're only really ever as good as our last month in business. So we need to consistently deliver every single month. And I suppose that comes from the two founders of the firm, me and Dave, in some ways. You're buying into us. You're buying into our 30 plus years business experience, expertise, and know-how. It's not just simply a transactional based relationship. We're really on the pitch. We want to be on the pitch with each of our clients till the day they either get acquired by one of the large guys in private equity or go IPO. And I mean, I think they know that they can go to sleep at night knowing that these guys in Dublin have their backs.
So if a lot of your prospects and clients come from the US and looking for market entry, you're trying to sell, hey, the localization that we bring to the table and the contacts and other aspects, we are superior versus somebody from the US. And if we're competing against somebody who's got 300 people and 9 divisions, we're a pocket rocket and you're going to be better served that way.
Yeah, Scott, it's a very tricky market to navigate for US firms, the European market. There's more regulation, there's GDPR, there's localization issues, there's different languages. This is why you use Ireland, because Ireland is basically Connecticut with the bad weather. I mean, we really are.
I like that. That's very funny, actually.
And ultimately, if you're looking to be a global firm, you really need to be doing 30% of your ARR in the European market. It's kind of a bit of a no-brainer in terms of, yeah, you can use a massive big firm and spend an awful lot of money, but what are you getting delivered? A lot of clients find either A, they use their own executives, go straight into Europe with the same playbook that works in the States, and it goes nowhere. due to the fact that the software might have to be tweaked, or B, they pay a lot of money for one of the big firms to write a wonderful report, but ultimately then it has to be executed. And when it has to be executed, there's another $1,000,000 to do it. And maybe they do it the wrong way. And that first mover advantage is then gone, and you've wasted 18 months and you have to start from scratch again. Whereas what we're adding is we're saying, hey guys, we're on the ground here. We've been doing it for many, many decades at this stage. We know business. We love working with American companies. And we're going to break our backside to deliver for you each and every time.
What are a couple of trends in capital raising and what investors are looking for that you think about for this year that you can share with our audience?
But I was talking to a friend of ours in private equity yesterday, and he was saying that what he's seeing is there's up to $3 trillion in dry powder sitting on the sidelines, ready to be deployed. And what our private equity friend said yesterday, they want to do a lot of buying this year. And so there's an awful lot of opportunity, but you need to be kind of set up in the right way to attract in that private equity capital. I think there's great opportunities for you guys in Europe working with us. So definitely there's a risk on appetite. Definitely there seems to be the ability to get deals done. We definitely see that as a mindset shift.
Americans tend to be a little bit insular. So, what are the 2 or 3 things you can describe that is the difference between doing business with Americans or in the US versus Ireland, UK, Europe? You mentioned language, a variety of regulations. So, beyond that, what else can you point to, the subtleties, but that are really important that we should be thinking about on this side of the pond?
With US firms, given the size of the market your home market is, there just seems to be a mindset piece. You guys all came to America. I just feel like there's a mindset towards we're going to grow into something huge. I love that mindset, but you get that from being your home market being so big, the biggest market in the world. Whereas on the European side, because we're a small kind of home market, say take Ireland's 5 million people, it's a very rich country, but at the same time, we need to go America first as quickly as possible. It's just a kind of a scale side of the thing, but it's no coincidence that the biggest firms in the world are all American. Absolutely.
The absolute bedrock, I'll call cultural fabric of being an American is about the individual. Rags to riches, bootstrap, make it on your own. Ain't nobody gonna, hand you something. It's very different, maybe in Ireland or in Australia, which is more collective. It's more we. I don't know in Ireland, but Australia, there's something really big called the tall poppy syndrome. And if somebody gets too big for the britches, they get cut off. The equivalency of what I just said in America, in Australia, is mateship. In Australia, it's we, not I, whereas America, it's I, not we.
Yeah, and I absolutely get that. But I suppose it goes back to my upbringing. My father was self-made. He started with nothing. So it all depends on the mindset, but I get it, Scott. Absolutely get it. There is definitely an element of the collective, an element of the state will have your back over in this country and in Europe in more general, and Australia. And in America, it is about the individual. And it's okay to fail in America. Okay to fail because you learn and you grow. We always say in this business, we either learn or we grow. And it's never about failure. It's about, okay, learn from your mistakes and then grow into the next level. But I absolutely get it. A friend from New York came over here and had to use the hospital system and thought it was going to cost an absolute fortune. And the invoice came along about 3 weeks later. It was €80, and he couldn't believe it. It's nice to have
that would be a shocker for most Americans.
Yeah.
Let's segue to our last quarter mile here, which is the personal side. Share with our listeners a little bit about your family, wife, kids, and what do you like to do outside of work the most?
I became a father in 2020 at the start of the first lockdown in April of 2020. So I have 2 wonderful kids, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old, well, almost 5 and almost 3. keep me up all night, Scott, which is ridiculous given I turn a big age at Christmas this year. And also a lovely partner, and she's brilliant. She's in advertising. In terms of what I like to do, I walk in and out of work every day. I try to do about 6-7 miles a day of walking.
Wow,
And
great.
then love swimming. I take that as my downtime away from screens, Scott. You can't have a screen when you're swimming. So try to do 50 lengths of a 50-meter pool at least 4 to 5 times a week. Also, love to learn, continuous learning. I love podcasts. I love to consistently find new things that are happening out there, and it drives me on as well. Love being with my pals. Nothing better than going and having a few pints and catching up. And I think we need to do more of that.
Twist my arm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second personal standard question we ask is the coolest place that you traveled to in the last year, either for pleasure or work.
It's been full on with the business. We haven't really done too much traveling. When I was looking at this question, I thought to myself, I love your hometown. I love Chicago. I love the architectural tour. I think it's one of the best things. I've been to Chicago about 12 times, I'd say, in my life. And every single time I go to that great city, I have new experiences. It's just a cracking, great place to go. I love places in Spain and Portugal. I've been lucky enough to travel a hell of a lot of the world. But Chicago, I'm going to say. I miss Chicago. I can't wait to come over and see you.
All right, so let's end up with what I threatened to do before. I want you to tell me the two best either places or experiences in Australia, New Zealand, or Southeast Asia when you were traveling.
My God, Scott, I haven't been back to Australia since 2000. I was there for the millennium at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. More recently, I loved Seoul in South Korea. It was amazing. Hong Kong, oh my God, what a city. And Kuala Lumpur and Singapore, great places as well. Vietnam, northern Vietnam, doing the hill tribes walks and meeting tribes that probably haven't seen modernity. They're still living in the 18th century. That was incredible to see. And also then in New Zealand, jumping out of a plane for the first time in the South Island.
And this has been extraordinary. And as advertised, Beer Stories, living large with somebody from Dublin is the way to go. So thank you so much. And we look forward to meeting you here in Chicago or in Dublin.
Thank you, Scott. I can't wait to see you in Dublin as well.
From all of us at Monogram Group, thanks for tuning in to Beer Stories for Private Equity,
Episode 19.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as we release new episodes. Please check out the show notes in the description from today's episode. Our email is podcast@monogramgroup.com. Feel free to email us with any comments or questions, and we'll try to answer them in our next episode.